Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video day, and today I'm going to be going over my biggest winners and losers from the NBA Draft Lottery. I feel like I should start off with the losers right away, and for my loser, I got to start off with the Toronto Raptors because, I mean, that's really upsetting, and it's a bad look on Masai Ujiri, the GM for the Raptors. You trade for Jakob Poeltl, which I don't. Speaking that this is a weak draft class, I don't think it's terrible that you lost a top 10 pick because you traded for Jakob Poeltl. He is a guy who averaged near double-double, I believe, or maybe it was over double-double. Did great for Toronto. It's great defensive center as well, and is a really good player for them to have. But I just think the thought process that probably went through Toronto in their head was like, oh, yeah, well, since OG and Jakob averaged Jakob averaged 11 and 9 last year. So yeah, averaged near triple double, or not triple double, near double double. But like I was saying, you traded that pick for him, made it top 6 protected, and honestly, I think you should have made it top 10 protected. I don't know if San Antonio would have traded Poeltl for a top 10 protected pick, knowing that very well Toronto could be in the top 10. And which they were number 8. But at the same time, you wasted a potential first round top 10 talent for Jakob Poeltl. But at the same time, it's not a very strong draft class. So would you rather have a Jakob Poeltl who averaged 12 points per game and 9 rebounds per game for you last year and is a good defensive center, or would you rather have do you rather have the 8th overall pick in a weak draft class? If this was a strong draft class, I think it'd be very disappointing. But because of the fact it's a weak draft class, I don't think it is very disappointing at all. But I do think they are a loser just because of the fact that they are one of the worst teams, one of the not so good teams in the Eastern Conference, and they could have had a top 10 talent, but they missed out on that. But Jakob Poeltl has been good for them. Same time, still I got Toronto as a loser. I think the next one I got is the Detroit Pistons as a loser. I mean, you won 14 games last year. You went 14-68, and you get the 5th overall pick. It's back-to-back years the Pistons. Last year they got the 4th overall pick, and the year before they got, I believe, number 5. Jaden Ivey and then Oscar Thompson have been their last 2 draft picks. But they got that 1st overall pick in 2021, selected Cade Cunningham. That was a good pick. Good to have the number 1 overall pick, but at the same time, since then, you've been one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, and the closest you've gotten in the draft lottery is number 4 when you drafted Oscar Thompson last year? Or no, last year was number 5 because my favorite team, the Rockets, were at number 4 and drafted him in Thompson. They had number 5. They've had, I think, number 5 2 years in a. This is like the 3rd year in a row. I think they have number 5. I know it's back-to-back years they have number 5, but I'm trying to think. Jaden Ivey, he might have went 4th. Jaden Ivey was either 4th or 5th. It might have been 6th. I have no clue. But Jaden Ivey was like 6, 4, or 5, something like that. They've been one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference, the worst team in the Eastern Conference in the last 3 seasons, and have not even gotten into the top 4. So into the top 3 in the last year. So, I think the Pistons are a good example that tanking really doesn't do anything for you. You got teams like the Houston Rockets and the Atlanta Hawks who were in the play-in game, and made it all the way as the 10 seed, get the 1st overall pick with only a 3%, I think it was like a 3% chance of getting the 1st overall pick. And then you got the Houston Rockets. To be fair, this was Brooklyn's pick though, who went 41-41, get a top 3 pick. But honestly, it's not like the Rockets got the 1st overall pick because it wasn't their own pick. Their own pick was number 12, and OKC has that pick. But they had Brooklyn's pick, which had the 9th best odds from the James Harden trade. Brooklyn went 32-50, and they get the 3rd overall pick. So I think tanking really doesn't it doesn't do anything for you, because here you got the top 3 picks. You got 2 teams in the Eastern Conference that won over 30 games. The Nets won 32, and the Hawks were a play-in team as the Nets were the 11 seed. I know the Rockets have that pick, but this is based off of what the Nets did. The Nets went 32-50. They were the 11th seed in the Eastern Conference. And then you got Atlanta, who was a play-in team at the 10 seed. This is the 11 and 10 seed in the Eastern Conference. And they're sitting here in the top three. I know the Nets didn't keep that pick. The Rockets have it. But the Rockets have that pick because of what Brooklyn did this year. But then you got a team like the Pistons, who don't have times two the amount of wins that that Atlanta or Brooklyn had, are sitting with the number 5th overall pick. Tanking does nothing. It does nothing. San Antonio, look at San Antonio last year. San Antonio got the 1st overall pick. Yes, they were a bottom seed in the Western Conference, but they weren't the very last seed. They were like the 14th or 13th seed in the Western Conference the season before they got Wemby. So, the Rockets or the Pistons, who were the worst seeds in their respective conferences, they didn't get Wemby. They didn't get the 1st overall pick. Spurs did. Tanking does nothing for you. It doesn't. And that's why Pistons are 5th overall. So that's my final loser. I got the Raptors. I got the Pistons as a loser. And then as my final loser, it's hard for me to pick this team as a loser, but I got to go with the Portland Trailblazers. I think it's nice that you have 2 top 14 picks, two lottery picks. You have 14 from Golden State, which I think Gary Payton this third has played a good role for Golden State. But to get a top 15 pick for Gary Payton, the Blazers fleeched the Warriors on that trade. Gary Payton the third, in my opinion, has not done enough for the Golden State Warriors for them to give up a top 15 pick for him. But you have 2 top 14 picks, 14 and 7. It's hard to pick them as a loser. This is another team, another bottom team, like 21-61, 15th seed, first team to ever lose 2 games by 60 plus in a season. Two games that they lost by 60 or more in a season. It's never been done before. So, 21-61, losing 2 games by over 60 or more points, and you were the 15th seed in the Western Conference. It truly shows that the lottery doesn't do. Tanking doesn't do anything. The Blazers and the Pistons are showing representative of that. They show that that means nothing. It doesn't. And so those are my losers: the Blazers and the Raptors and the Pistons. Although for the Blazers, I know it doesn't look good having the 7th overall pick, but I think it's not bad in a weak draft class to have 2 top 14 picks. So there is some chance to add in some talent, and maybe there's a window to potentially trade up with having 14 and 7 and some tradable options like Malcolm Brogdon. So I definitely think that there is a potential chance for I think there's definitely a chance for the Blazers to work off of this bad lottery for them. Then my winners, obviously number 1's Atlanta Hawks. They got the 1st overall pick. They were a play-in team this year who had Trae Young injured for a good portion of the year, and they were 10th best in the odds and had only a 3% chance, or maybe it was like 2 or something, and they still got the 1st overall pick. So of course they're going to be on there. Next one I got is the Houston Rockets. The Rockets were a 41-41 team, the most wins ever by an 11 seed in NBA history, 19-win improvement, and they get the 3rd overall pick. I know it's from Brooklyn, but still it's a huge W. And then my final winner, San Antonio Spurs. It's mainly off of what Toronto's mistake, but then you also get the 4th overall pick. This is a San Antonio Spurs team that, just had Wembanyama in last year's draft, and he showed so much growth, and now you're going to add in more talent next to him, 2 top 10 talents next to him. I know this is a weak draft class, but I think that is going to be improvement to this roster. That I'm sure they're going to add in a point guard, and they're probably going to add in a forward with their 2 draft picks. So, and I also think there's going to be players that are going to in free agency that are going to want to go to San Antonio to want to play with Victor Wembanyama and the other talent that is on this team. So, I think the Spurs are my other winner. Let me know your thoughts on the draft lottery in the comment section, and peace out.